Mark Carney and the Liberal government are planning to introduce new legislation to fight crime in this country. Now, the bill itself hasn't been introduced so far, and when it is, I will be sure to give you guys an update, but here's what we know so far. Number one is reverse onus bail. Currently, how the system works is that whoever is charged with a crime, the Crown must convince the court why someone should not be eligible for bail, meaning that it's presumed most alleged criminals will be out on bail unless the Crown can prove why they would be a risk to the public. But with the Liberal government's new proposals, that essentially is going to be reversed, and it is now going to be up to the accused to prove to the court why they should be released. And that means that detention before trial in Canada is going to become the expectation rather than the exception. And this would be one of the largest bail reforms that Canada has seen since 1997. Number two is consecutive sentencing for multiple crimes. Currently, Canadian judges typically use concurrent sentences, meaning if somebody is charged with multiple crimes, they will serve all of those sentences at the same time, together, simultaneously. The new legislation is now going to enable the judges to stack sentences, meaning that they will serve time for one crime after another. If an individual is charged with 4 separate crimes that all hold a penalty of 5 years in prison, and the judge gives them 5 years in prison for each of those crimes, they will then serve a total of 20 years. And number 3, which I think is the most interesting one because I didn't know about it, is related to retail theft. Over the last number of years, I'm sure you've seen numerous videos online of theft from stores, and it is very organized theft. These are retail thieves who are working in teams with somebody waiting outside with the car started so that they can get away as quickly as possible. And they act like coordinated gangs. And these gangs, or organized retail theft, are costing Canadian businesses more than $9 billion a year. As it stands right now, these individuals typically can only be charged with just general theft or mischief. And because these are low-level, non-violent crimes, these people typically get away with doing little to no jail time. But the Liberals are planning to change that by adding aggravating factors to the criminal code. And so if somebody is stealing to resell items, judges can then hand down much harsher and stricter sentences because the Crown will be able to argue that they are part of an organized retail theft gang. And number 4, and the final one, is restricting conditional sentences for sexual offenses. Currently, as it stands, in very limited situations, some nonviolent sexual offenses are allowed to be served conditionally, meaning that people are essentially serving them under house arrest in the community where they potentially committed that crime. Under this new legislation, no sexual offenses will be eligible for conditional sentences. On top of all this, the Liberal government has also committed to hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers over the next 4 years, and investing into affordable housing and offering more supports for people dealing with mental health and addictions, which the Liberals describe as the root causes of crime, which I agree with. When we see the actual text of the bill, I will be sending it out over on my Substack. But I want to remind you that this legislation is going to have to stand up to a charter test, which the Prime Minister says it will. And that is in stark contrast to Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, who has suggested that we should just use the notwithstanding clause to implement what he thinks the changes should be to the criminal code.